Please join me in welcoming the work around the work, elevating marketing's credibility and influence to the C-suite. Vicki Sherman, CMO and SVP, Pacific Premier Bank.
Thank you so much. When I was first promoted to Chief Marketing Officer, I had to go through a mourning period of sorts. I'd been the number 2 at various marketing teams for 3 different institutions for a long time, and I knew my stuff inside and out. I knew how to assess the data, come up with a strategic plan, motivate the team, help execute, all the things. And I was so excited to finally be the top-ranked person in the marketing team that finally, not only was I going to react or help shape, I was going to lead the marketing for an institution. It turns out the job that I got and the job that I thought I got were a little bit different. Suddenly, I found myself explaining marketing 101 tactics to some very high-ranking leaders that I just thought would know better. And it became very clear to me I had a lot of work to do, not just about the work, but about the work around the work. All of this I had done, I had mastered, all good. 7 to 10 years of doing that stuff. It's the work around the work, the soft skills, the rapport building, the leadership, the herding the cats. That's the hardest stuff. So a couple of months into my new job, I'll never forget this, my president sat me down and he just said a very powerful phrase, which is the phrase I want you, if you take one thing away from my presentation, this is the phrase I want you to take away. He sat me down and he said, Vicki, you have a hard job. Fortunately, structurally in that institution, I reported to the president. So did the heads of business unit, compliance, IT, all the heads of sales. We were all peers, and we reported to the same guy. That helped me tremendously. But he said, here's the deal. I was employee number 20 at this bank, and now we're a $25 billion institution with 60-something branches all across the West Coast. I can do any job in this bank except yours. He said, so here's the thing. We're going to have to figure this out together. We're going to have to figure this out as we go. That helped me reconcile my challenge so much. One of my favorite quotes is from author Maya Angelou. She says, people may forget what you said, people may forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And that is such a powerful quote to me because it reminds me, and I'm a very cerebral person, that trust is built on feelings, on instincts. We go after the hearts and minds of our clients and prospective clients all the time. But what I'd like you to take away from this presentation is using the phrase, you have a hard job, to help establish the foundation of trust and credibility and eventually grow that to influence for even your most difficult C-suite leaders or the boards. So, this is what we're going to talk about. I'm a big believer that in order to lead people effectively, you need to really be exceptionally self-aware, and you need to know who you are, first and foremost. You need to know the truth about your superpowers and super weaknesses, which from my perspective are exactly the same things in different contexts. You also need to know the superpowers and super weaknesses of those you're trying to build relationships with. You also need to know the business. We all know that marketing is an industry agnostic function. To harness the power of communications for paid, owned, earned, and shared channels in order to drive growth, we could all probably do that for any kind of company. But to really be effective, we need to know the business, we need to speak the same language as the CFO. And then we're going to get into the guts of it once we've established the foundation of who you are, who you're working with, understanding the business. Then we're going to get into the guts of the work around the work. Okay, let's start with know thyself. Who's familiar with Myers-Briggs? Oh yeah, pretty much everyone. Who remembers your Myers-Briggs type? Okay, for those that you remember, do me a solid, write it down. so that you have it. For those of you that are familiar with Myers-Briggs and don't remember your type, or that you haven't actually gone through the Myers-Briggs training, do me a favor, indulge me. I'm going to go through the Myers-Briggs framework. I want you to just jot down a guess. I'm not a certified Myers-Briggs practitioner. I just happen to be a big nerdy fan of the framework. But this will help the material be more meaningful to you if you follow along with me. So the way Myers-Briggs works is you take a quiz of about 100 questions, and you're supposed to just answer instinctually. You're supposed to answer what you do today. Now, Myers-Briggs is far from perfect. It's a pseudo-psychological personality work style thing. If you answer what you think you should do versus what you actually do, that can skew your results. If you are a vastly different person at home versus work, and you kind of toggle between your two personas while you answer the questions, that can skew your results. The benefit of Myers-Briggs is it gives a really nice, loose framework of understanding your strengths and weaknesses, understanding somebody else's strengths and weaknesses, where the complements are and where the discord is, so that you can relate to other people faster and more effectively. Now, Myers-Briggs teaches us there is actually no type that is better than another. And let me say that again for the people in the back. There is no one Myers-Briggs type that is better than the other. Everybody's just different. And in fact, it preaches diversity of thought is a very good thing. You want as many types as you can possibly get in harmony in a team, so that when a certain situation hits you, you all aren't sunk by the same situation. Everyone has a little bit something different to offer, and so hopefully you'll come to the best possible outcome. So let's talk through this. Some of these are more intuitive than others. For example, extroversion versus introversion. Are you talkative, social? Are you comfortable public speaking? Were you comfortable in the speed dating? When you think, do you do so out loud? If so, you're probably an extrovert. When you tackle a certain problem, do you get introspective? Do you get quiet? Are you not comfortable? If you have questions for me at the end, are you not comfortable raising your hand and having the mic runner run to you and having to ask the question in front of everybody else? Would you be more comfortable approaching me when I have a martini in my hand a little later? We'll find each other. Then you're probably an introvert. Shock, I test out as an E. I'm an extrovert. Now, as a CMO, I have to be careful in the workplace. I'm very comfortable talking. I'm very comfortable drawing people out. Chit-chat doesn't intimidate me, but I have to be careful I don't intimidate my eyes, my introverts. I will monopolize a meeting if I'm not careful. I will just keep talking. I have learned over the years I need to shut up and ask, by the way, Valerie, you haven't said anything. What do you think? And then keep everyone else quiet, because I know Valerie, not only she's an I, she's also an S. Let's talk about what that means. S or N. An S is a very data-driven decision maker. An S likes analysis. An S wants as much knowledge and certainty before making a decision as is possible. An N is an instinct decision maker. They're good on the fly. They like to build the plane while they fly it. They're comfortable with ambiguity. They are creative. They like brainstorming. I think you got to be careful as marketers with the Myers-Briggs framework, because data-driven, blah, blah, blah. We should be, but maybe we're not. When I was younger, I tested as a hard N. I was very instinctual. I would walk into a room, I would see the problem, I would decide this is what we need to do. And I concentrated all my work around the work on lobbying people to my point of view so we could just get the plan approved and I could get off executing. I have eaten a lot of humble pie since those days. The more experienced I got, the more I know I don't know. And so today I test out as a soft N, or sorry, a soft S. I am data-driven, but I can lean into my N really easily. But by default, I am a soft S. Okie doke, thinking or feeling. Would people describe you as loyal, affectionate, friendly, forgiving? compassionate, empathetic. Earlier today, the very first speaker that we had, I was sitting right where you two gentlemen are, and the gal next to me, the guy had come in. This was the CMO of Flagstar. He was out of breath. He had been trapped in traffic or the subway or some sort of a delay, and it took him a minute to find his rhythm. And the gal sitting next to me was just fretting for him. She walked up a cup of water. If you were here, you saw it. She walked up a cup of water. She was his admin assistant. That was her boss. She wanted to take care of him. She wanted to make sure he felt comfortable. I'll bet she was an F. Or are you very thoughtful, very cerebral? Do people say you're very logical, very pragmatic? I test out as a hard T. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not heartless. That doesn't mean I'm heartless. It doesn't mean that I don't have feelings. It doesn't mean I don't love my family. I just test as a T. I have to be careful because I can really inadvertently hurt the feelings of the Fs on my team. If I'm too direct, they're a little put off. Doesn't matter how much merit what I've said has, it can hurt their feelings, or they get really miffy about it. I have to be aware of that. Again, no right or wrong here. Everyone's just different. Judging or perceiving. This one is named weird. I blame Myers-Briggs people. But how do you approach the outside world? How organized are you? Do you like spontaneity? Again, a little bit of the build it while you fly. Or are you a list maker? Does the PMO love you because you understand all those spreadsheets and the names and the dates and the deadlines, and you're really cool with all of that? I am a hard J. I love lists. I'm such a bad list. I'm a little OCD on my lists. I clear my email inbox every single day. I have a list of tasks that I finish every single day, and I cross things off. I'm such a J. If I do something that's not on my to-do list, I'll write it down so that I have the satisfaction of crossing it out because I want that little dopamine hit. So the flip side, the good news is I'm really good at execution. Once we land on that plan, I'm organized. I have it all in Wrike and Asana and Workfront. Ooh, love those systems. Those give me such comfort. But I'm not really good with pivoting. It takes me a minute. It takes me a minute because I've already come up with the plan. We can't go backwards. We have to move forward. So that's when I lean into my S's or my P's, the ones that are like, yeah, but Vicki, we really have to do this. The market has shifted. Okay, you're right. Now is it in the plan? Okay, now I'm okay. Let's execute. All right. So if you were following along, oh, here we go. Yeah, there we are. Okay. I'm an ESTJ. These are all the various combinations of Myers-Briggs. If you want to learn more about Myers-Briggs, go to their website. They have boatloads of material. If you really want to learn more about Myers-Briggs, talk to your HR team. Myers-Briggs has been around for a long time. Chances are someone in your HR team is certified. Maybe you can get you and your team to go through the official training, the official training, and you can learn even more than what my surface explanation is for you. So, in order to build relationships with our C-suite and our board members, now we have a better understanding of who we are, right? Those who are following along, you've kind of taken some guesses. It's okay if it's not exact. It's just a rough approximation of the Myers-Briggs type that you are. Okay, great. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you some questions. I want you to walk along with me for a thought experiment to illuminate the very strong discord that happens between different Myers-Briggs types. And in order to do that, I want you to envision the ugliest, most contentious confrontation you've ever had at work. You and one other person, and it was ugly. I mean, a visceral, strong, powerful example. You don't have to tell anyone. Martinis later. You don't have to tell anyone. Just have it in your mind's eye, okay? Ooh, did you feel that? The energy in the room changed just a little bit. See, I'm not heartless. So, think of this person, think of the situation. I don't care if it happened last week or 16 years ago. Just make sure it's a strong example. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you a couple questions that illuminate the difference between the various Myers-Briggs type where there is natural tension. And I just want you to think about your answers, okay? So, was one of you thinking, oh my gosh, I just wish this person would stop talking? Or was one of you thinking, well, if you didn't want to know that information, you shouldn't have asked me? Was one of you thinking, oh great, we're going to do this analysis all over again. It's going to take 6 more months, and we're not going to be any farther along than we are today? Was one of you thinking, if you knew exactly what you wanted to do about this problem, why even come to me and do this analysis? It was just a waste of time. Was one of you thinking, it's not what you said, because that actually was legit. It's how you said it. You were so disrespectful and rude. You were clueless. Was one of you thinking, this isn't high school. It wasn't personal. It's just business. I mean, we are in the workplace after all. Please. Was one of you thinking, how is it possible that this leader is incapable of meeting deadlines? How is it even possible that they're where they're at because everyone else is carrying them? The plan is clear. Was one of you thinking, yeah, that's cute. You have never managed designers. If you honestly think you can box in the creative process like that, oh, just you wait. It's clear, right? Different Myers-Briggs types have just natural oil and water tendencies. The reason I'm sharing this with you is so that hopefully you can come away with just this much more perspective that maybe, just maybe, that super ugly confrontation was not entirely about whatever the work issue was. It was more about your work style. And had you known your Myers-Briggs type or their Myers-Briggs type, you might have approached it a little differently. By the way, Myers-Briggs is not the only framework like this. There are hundreds. There's colors, there's DISC. Myers-Briggs just happens to be the one I'm the most familiar with. So isn't it interesting? Once you think about the people that you're dealing with, you can approach them a little bit more effectively. Okay, knowing the business. It's very possible that there are stereotypes against us. Right? It's possible. CEOs, CFOs, the C-suite, it's very possible that they are not as informed as they should be about what we know or don't know. It's very possible. Just as we have stereotypes about sales, compliance, legal, vendor management, yeah. Wouldn't it be nice if we knew what keeps them up at night? And here's my take. I have 3 slides for this. This is my take on what the C-suite worries about. Wouldn't it be great if we knew the answers to all these questions so that we ourselves could incorporate all of this into our marketing strategies and plans? Or better yet, wouldn't it be great if answers to all these questions were generated on a regular basis with projections, and then the following period we could see what we guessed and why, and how we performed? Holy cow. This would be amazing to know. How about this one? Even if we were in the rooms where these things were being discussed by finance, by operations, by the chairman, by the board, wouldn't it be great to know this information? This is what they have nightmares about, right? This is my guesstimation on what they have nightmares about. And there's one more. This is how much money we get in. This is how much money we get out. And hopefully we're in the black every month. Is anyone on to me yet? Nope? Okay. Here's the fun part. These reports, all three of these reports, exist for your organizations. I guarantee it. What is this one? This is your balance sheet. This is your income statement. And this is your cash flow. Now, I'm not saying that your C-suite would definitely have answers for all of these questions. I know myself, my own experience is, if I ask 10 different people, who is our ideal client profile? I get 57,000 answers, depending on who I'm talking to. But see, that's the opportunity to lead, right? That's the opportunity to not lead the marketing effort reactively, but proactively. Like, look, I am the expert on who our client is and where we see the trends, and I can translate this and bring that certainty, or at least have a seat at the table. So, if I sold all my worldly possessions and moved to Paris, France, but I don't speak French, could I make it? Sure. Any global city that has a large tourist contingent has a plethora of English speakers, I'd be just fine. Could I really, truly integrate myself with my neighbors and my friends and everybody that I met if I did not speak French? Of course not. So I'm not telling you all to go out and get your CPAs, but what I am saying is you should aspire to be at least conversationally fluent in financials. Something pretty harsh that my president told me, granted he was an ISTP, he was a T, he was a harder T than me. He said, Vicki, everything that all the employees in the bank do roll up to these 3 reports. Now I know you've got personas and journeys, and now we have AI and personalization and content and blah, 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 and all the clicks and all of this. He's like, really, truly, I don't care. I care about outcomes. I don't care about all that work, really. I care about the outcomes because all the outcomes across all of the employees across the entire bank roll up to these 3 reports. So, yeah, he was a T. My feelings were a little hurt, but okay. I have probably 24 strategies that I employ on building credibility and influence in the C-suite. And I've shared with you, these next 2 slides have 3 items each. I can talk about this for days, and I'll try not to bore you. I'm trying to keep this to as relevant and salient as I can so that when you go back to your respective institutions, you can implement some of these things. Always be learning. We already talked about financials. The horse is dead. I'm not going to talk about that anymore. But I do want to talk just a bit about seconds in command and banking school. Just in August 2025, I graduated from Pacific Coast Banking School. Thank you very much. It was a boatload of work. I'm so glad I did it. I'm so glad it's done. But I really, truly understand the drivers of those 3 reports and the strategic trade-offs that CFOs need to make. Now, had I understood it earlier, I would have had a little bit more compassionate response when I get a text from my president that says, hey, Vicki, we need to launch an ALCO a HELOC campaign tomorrow. Now I understand why. Seconds in command. If you are not comfortable revealing what you do not know with your CFO to get more familiar with the financials, I would recommend you go to his or her second in command. Why? Because they're doing all the work. They are their shield from the head, from the CFO, so that they have time for the work around the work. Because guess what? All those C-suite leaders have to do the same thing you're doing. They have their daily stuff, which hopefully they delegate, so that they can be freed up for the cat herding and the rapport building and the consensus driving. So talk to the second in command. Say, you have a hard job. Where can I focus in marketing to make your job easier? What a fabulous opener for a conversation, right? Manufacturing systematic inclusions. I know creating monthly marketing reports is a real bummer, but think about that as your newsletter to all your C-suite and your board members about the amazing impact that you're having, the value you're driving for your organization. I make it a practice twice a year to go to my CFO, and my president, and my COO and say, hey, here's what my marketing report is today. Is it really telling you all you need to know, or can I make it better? Because we can give them data 16 ways from sideways, but I got to show how it rolls up to those 3 reports. And cultivating safety for misfires and speaking in we. Those 3 reports, those have projections. You want to talk about pressure, particularly if you're a publicly held institution, those reports are shared publicly with projections. And if those projections are off the following period, that impacts the stock price. You could really go really far by calling your CFO if projections are way off and go, yo, you have a really hard job. I noticed your estimates are off, but you know what? You did the best you could with the information you had. I feel you, man. I get it. Because guess what? If you have to come up with an ROI projection in order to get a campaign approved, in order to get more funding, if your projection is off, you want to live by the golden rule. Look, I prepared this projection with as much knowledge as I could. We didn't anticipate this. This is how we're fixing it. This is how we're moving forward. Okay, executive amnesia. This is one of my favorites. I'll never forget this. I was a senior director reporting to the VP of marketing, and we had a big, challenging, juicy challenge in front of us. And it wasn't marketing's alone to solve, but it was something that we were charged to lead. And my VP said, okay, Vicki, I want you to go and analyze this, talk to this person, talk to that person, analyze this, that, or the other, and then let's come back and say a week and look at what should the plan be. We'll refine it, we'll socialize it, we'll refine it again, and once it's approved, we're off to the races and we'll execute. I'm like, great, break. So I analyze this, I talked to this person. They suggested 3 other people that we didn't think to talk to, so I talked to them too, and they suggested another analysis that I didn't anticipate, so I did that too. Came up with a draft of a plan, and I said, okay, boss, here's the thing. What do you think? And he said, what's that for again? And I'm not going to lie, I judged him pretty harshly for years until I did the very same thing with my number 2. You are not immune from executive amnesia. And if you haven't experienced forgetfulness and not having memorized big, challenging projects yet, that's because you're not highly ranked yet. You're not as highly ranked as you perhaps will be. So here's the number 1 thing to think about when you navigate through executive amnesia. Number 1, don't make the person who's experiencing the executive amnesia feel bad about having it. Just be like, you know what, I get it. You have a hard job. You're busy. I'm juggling dozens of things. You're juggling hundreds of things. I came up with this framework, and I walked through my team with it. I presented it at our all-hands marketing meeting, and my president loved it so much, he had me present it to the whole company at our leadership conference. Here's the framework. When last we left the story, we were trying to solve this. I went and did all this work, and I think we should do this. How do you want to proceed? And if he wants to ask me all these questions, I've got the answers, but I'm not going to just data dump on him. I'm going to trust that he's going to ask me, or she's going to ask me what all I did. What about this data? Yeah, I figured that out. What about that data? Oh, yeah. Did you talk to? Oh, yeah, they're all good. Okay. Yeah, let's roll. So the format is, when last we left the story, I recommend we do this, and here's why. And how would you like to proceed? Or if I'm feeling particularly savvy, I'll say, unless I hear otherwise from you, I'm moving. This is how I write my emails. This is how I run my meetings. If my emails are longer than 4 sentences, I pick up the phone and I call. If my emails are longer than 8 sentences, I have a meeting. I'm a T, I'm a J. Yes, I have a framework. Okay. Last thing, foster allies with unpopular functions. If I had a nickel every time someone said, I'm not a marketing expert, but just stop talking. I treat the unpopular functions like vendor management and legal and compliance, and everyone with so much respect. I had a breakthrough the other day. I was speaking with the head of vendor management, and we announced, I worked at Pacific Premier Bank. We announced we were being purchased by Umpqua Bank in April. The sale closed in September. She and I were talking after we had announced and after we knew who was staying and who was going. That's tough. But before we closed. And she said, Vicki, oh my God. I've been under the tent for a long time, because obviously the due diligence behind an acquisition is look at all their contracts. And I had to chase down all the cowboys for missing pieces of the contracts. I had to keep everything going, and now I have a team. Half of us aren't even staying, and I'm talking to my counterparts, and I'm providing all of this information all over again. And half my team, they're just trying to keep the morale up. It's really difficult right now. And I said, you have a hard job. And she said, yes, I do. She said, but you and your team are always so great. And I'm a J. I insist my team, I pick my battles, but I insist my team are diligent with audit response, compliance response, AP response, vendor management, et cetera. Because I know those teams come up with laundry lists of naughty people that gets reported to the C-suites, and I'm going for table stakes. I want positive things said about me and my group in rooms I'm not in. So, in summary, you have a hard job. But we spend so much time doing personas for our clients, winning the hearts and minds of our clients and our prospective clients. If you could apply the same campaign skills that you've got, you know how to do this work. Consider your C-suite and your board your new targets. Develop personas, develop the same strategies to win the hearts and minds of your C-suite and your board. I'm writing a book about this called The Work Around the Work. I'm around tonight for cocktails, a bit tomorrow as well. If you're uncomfortable speaking up for questions, find me and we can talk later. No questions? Or
We're
at
6
time.
minutes over.
Okay. Thank you. Again, E, sorry.
Thank you